Alright, what's up YouTube? It's Brev, back with another highly requested positional tier list video. Now that the 9th inning program has dropped, I can release this one. Today is October 3rd, 2020. We are on patch 1.19 for MLB The Show 20. If you guys are new to my stuff, please subscribe for more MLB The Show 20 content. I post a ton of consistent good content on this game that I'm sure you'll enjoy, and drop a like on the video. It helps me out a ton. Follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/cbrev. I am a Twitch partner over there now. My Twitter is at cbrevmlb, and if you're watching this somewhere other than YouTube, my YouTube is cbrevmlb the show. So what this video is going to try to accomplish is give you guys my opinions on who the best card is in the game at each position. Let's get our usual disclaimers out of the way. Obviously, these are just my subjective opinions. You are more than welcome to disagree with me. Please do. Would love to hear your thoughts down in the comment section below. But I don't believe my word is gospel. I do believe every person that plays this game has a different experience with every card. So what I'm really trying to do is provide a framework for you guys for who I think the best cards are, but like I said, you are more than welcome to disagree with me. Additionally, we're moving into the second half of the game cycle, like I mentioned in the last tier list video, which means we're getting a lot of in-game cards, and a lot of cards that were good to decent options earlier in the year are kind of getting phased out. The first one that comes to mind for me is 97 Andrew McCutchen. So if you don't see a guy as high that you do really well with, just keep in mind I'm trying to provide perspective on all the cards in the game, and even though I personally did well with 97 Andrew McCutchen, I'm not going to put him high on the tier list because he's just objectively worse than a lot of other options in the game, so keep that in mind. Also, the differences between cards within each tier are pretty marginal because there is such good content this year. There's a lot of usable cards. However, between tiers, I think the differences are pretty large, so keep that in mind as we move forward. Also, secondary positions I will talk about. Let's jump into catcher right now. So let's talk about the color coding. First off, blue is a guy in a secondary position. I really try to stay away from secondary positions as much as I can because it would just clog up the list unless I think it's worth mentioning, which a lot of these guys are now. Additionally, for this tier list, I only allowed one secondary position for each guy, so when you see a guy in blue, that's what I believe to be his best secondary position. There's a lot of cards now that have multiple secondary positions. If you see a guy in blue, it's his best secondary. You may not see him in his other secondaries on the list. The one exception I made was Jimmy Fox, because I do believe Jimmy Fox is the best option in the entire game at all three positions that he plays. So yeah, green is a card that's new that was not on the tier list last time, and yellow is a card that I have a individual card review for on my channel. I haven't done individual card reviews for a while, but if you want to go check them out, those are the guys that have them. So starting off with catcher, I think Jimmy Fox is the best catcher in the game, and I don't really think it's close with anyone else, which is why there's a couple gaps between him and the next guy. A lot of people concerned about Jimmy Fox's defense, as they should be, but the more I researched for this video, the more I realized that his defense at catcher really isn't that bad. I really don't throw pitches in the dirt a lot, and a lot of times when you try to throw pitchers in the dirt, it just ends up in the zone anyway, because off-speed hangs a lot on this game. So and he also has 75 arm strength, which is not as bad as you think. The best example I can give is Craig Biggio. A lot of people have been using Craig Biggio at catcher for a long time. Craig Biggio's arm strength is 80, only 5 more than Jimmy Fox. So it's really not that big of a drop-off unless you were relying on some of these defensive catchers early in the year, like I was with Wieters, who has 99 arm strength. Obviously, there's a big difference there between him and Fox, but there's an even bigger difference between Fox and Wieters offensively. So that's why I think Fox is the best catcher in the game. At the lower tier, if you don't want to run Fox there, we have Piazza, Wieters, Posada, Sandoval, Biggio, and joining the fray is 96 tops now, Jorge Alfaro, which is a sneaky good card. Around 100 contact versus both sides, over 90 power versus both sides, and 99 arm strength with 76 speed. Really sneaky good card if you're looking for like a budget catcher. Tier 1B, I got a lot of flack for having Pudge in there, but I still just cannot hit with Pudge this year. I refuse to believe that his swing is good. Perfects did help him this year, but I still think he's not good enough for me offensively. So there's some new guys there in the green from Tops Now and from Event Rewards and from Run It Back and all that stuff. But really, as far as the meta, your catcher should be a Cap or Jimmy Fox, and I forgot to mention earlier as well that a Cap with diamond equipment is basically the best option in the game at whatever position you want to play him at. I get asked that question a lot, but Caps are really strong wherever you want to put them, so that's up for you to decide. I don't use them personally because I think they're boring. Alright, on to first base. we have a very colorful Tier 1A. Once again, Jimmy Fox, like I said, best card in the game for all of his positions. But below him, we have Lou Gehrig, slightly above Babe Ruth. Obviously, Gehrig and Ruth are pretty similar, so I get asked that question a lot as well. I do prefer Gehrig just because of his swing, but Ruth is more than serviceable at first base and definitely a top-tier option. And then the new 99 Pujols. I have heard Pujols' swing is not that great this year, and his stance is kind of bugging people. But for now, before I get a lot of reps with him, I'm going to put him up there because the card looks really, really good on paper. Top of Tier 1B, also very good options. We have Thames Tommy Thomas. Bottom of Tier 1B, we got Musial Ortiz. The new 98 Paul Goldschmidt, sneaky good card, really good swing, diamond defense at first. Big fan of him. And then Pete Alonso and Cody Bellinger, and then some guys in Tier 1C there for you. But if you want the best team possible, I think it's got to be Gehrig, Ruth, or Pujols at first for me right now. You can make the argument for Thames as well, who's still very relevant, but I'm personally using Gehrig, as you guys will see later on. Alright, second base. The best two second basemen in the game are not actually second basemen. It's Fernando Tatis Jr. and Honus Wagner. My personal best middle infield is both Tatis and Wagner at the same time, so that's why I think they're both equally the best two second basemen in the game. Obviously, one at shortstop, one at second is the move, in my opinion. But if you don't like either of those guys at second base, the next best, in my opinion, is Rogers Hornsby, who ironically has basically the same swing as Honus Wagner. I think Hornsby's a very good card as well. At the bottom of Tier 1A, we got Alomar, Cano, and Biggio. Top of Tier 1B, we got some newcomers. 95 Brandon Lau. If you play below Legend, I think 95 Brandon Lau is very serviceable. Really, his only weakness is contact. He's got a good swing and a ton of power, so very good sneaky card. Also, 99 Trey Turner, very good card as well in a secondary position here. Over 100 contact, over 80 power versus righties, 99 speed. Gonna have gold defense at second base. Very, very good card. And then you see the new 97 Baez there in Tier 1B below Jackie Robinson. So, yeah, this, like I said earlier, these in-game options are making this really hard. This is one of the times where I really do feel like there's clear-cut best options at the top of these tiers. So take for that what you will. Third base made me laugh when I was making this, so let's take a look at that. In my opinion, the 6 best third basemen in the game aren't primary third basemen, which I think is just hilarious. Obviously, Jimmy Fox is first, then Gary Sheffield and Nick Castellanos. Keep in mind, from like Sheffield to Hornsby, it's very, very close with all these cards. Very marginal differences. I personally still think Sheffield is the best besides Fox, but that's just me. Maybe I'm biased because I've done so well with him all year. Castellanos very close to Sheffield in terms of power. Same with Mark Canha. 97 Mark Canha, one of the best budget cards in the game. Just really, really good card. You can play Pujols at third and you'll still have gold fielding, so he's there. You can play Hornsby at third, so he's there. Like I said, this just made me laugh. The best pure third baseman is still Harmon Killebrew in my opinion, but he's the 7th best on this list. We got Chipper and Pablo down there. Top of Tier 1B, we have the new 98 Hanley Ramirez, another great budget card. I think people are really sleeping on this Hanley Ramirez. Very, very good swing. His new card has his old swing from the Marlins, which is a better swing than his Dodgers card has. Long story short, going to generate a lot of high exit velo for you. Basically a 5-tool player, except the fielding can be sketchy at times, but has the speed, has the power, has a contact. Also, 96 Brad Miller, another sneaky option, really good swing. I've seen a lot of top players say that they're raking with this card, so he must be mentioned to be up there near the top 10. Couple of old guys there, Donaldson, Brett, new guy Suarez, and then just moving down the list, more and more options. But really, you should be looking at Tier A, Tier 1A, Tier 1B for your team if you're looking for the best options. All right, on to shortstop. The 2 best shortstops in the game, I'm sure you guys could have figured this out, is Tatis and Honus. So like I said earlier, I'm running one at second, one at short. I think they're the best options by far at both positions. So debate between Tatis and Wagner. I think they each bring their own special thing to the table. Obviously, Honus is going to have better contact versus lefties, better speed, but Tatis is basically 99 Mike Trout, so there's that. Both very good. Very, very good options. So pick one of those two for your shortstop, in my opinion. If you don't want to use them, We got a couple newcomers in Tier 1A, the guys I just talked about, 99 Trey Turner, 98 Hanley Ramirez. Very, very good there. I still like Banks as the third best option. 96 Trevor Story still in 1A for me, and 99 Jimmy Rollins still in 1A for me as well. Tier 1B, we got Royce Lewis at the top. We got the new MVP, Cal Ripken Jr. right in the middle. I really don't like Cal's swing on this game. I've mentioned this before, so that's why he's not a 1A option. And then not a whole lot else has changed for the rest of the shortstop options. And again, I've trimmed a lot of fat with these positions, so if you don't see a guy, I apologize. I just don't think he is as good as some of the other guys on the list. Just my opinion. So let's move on to outfield, which is a jumbled mess, as it always is. I've done a lot of trimming here too, a lot of moving guys down farther as we get more and more cards, so take this for what it is. Outfield is very jumbled. There's probably like 20 to 30 outfield options in the game that you could get away with and perform very well with in ranked seasons, so I'm just trying to do my best here. In my opinion, the best outfield is still Mantle, Trout, and Cobb. However, the next best are Larry Walker at 4 and tops now Byron Buxton at 5. That might surprise some of you guys that aren't as familiar with Buxton cards on this game, but a 98 Byron Buxton card is just completely unfair. He hits the 80 power threshold against both sides. Yeah, his contact's low, but literally maybe the best swing in the entire game, and probably the best outfield defense in the entire game. He brings 99 fielding, 99 reaction, 97 arm strength with 99 speed out there. If Byron Buxton can't get to it, then nobody's going to get to it. And the nice part about Buxton cards is because of his swing, he's going to be able to perform more than ideal for you offensively as well. So I really love Buxton. I do think he's a top 5 outfielder in the game right now. Keep in mind, if you play on Legend, the lack of contact is going to hurt you more, but most people that play this game do not play on Legend, so that's why I have him in the top 5. At 6, we have Babe Ruth. Pretty sketchy defense, but just brings an absolute hammer at the plate, so if you're not playing him at first, you can look at him in the outfield. That's totally an option. Luis Robert, very, very good card, similar to Buxton, just slightly worse defensively and slightly worse swing in my opinion, but basically the same archetype of card. If you wanted an insane defense and you didn't have Mantle and Trout, you could run something like Cobb, Buxton, and Robert, and that would basically be able to cover the entire outfield. Nothing would fall on you probably. 98 Cody Bellinger. This is purple because it's the prestige version of Bellinger. You need the diamond defense out there, which is why the other Cody Bellinger is in Tier 1C. But if you have prestige Bellinger, I still think he's a top tier option for the outfield. Eric Davis still there, and then what may surprise you is the 98 Adam Duvall. They really juiced that Duvall card. Again, keep in mind with the tops now, their contact is low, but Duvall 115 power or more against both sides, 75 speed and 90 fielding, which gets him diamond defense. So Adam Duvall is a top 10 outfield option in MLB The Show and Dynasty. I never thought I'd say that in my entire life, but here we are. Tier 1B, we got Sheffield, Castellanos, Carlson, Williams, Harper, Yelich, Kaline, Henderson. None of those cards are bad. Like I said, they're all very good cards. They're just worse than the other guys I have mentioned in Tier 1A, in my opinion. Maybe they're missing something. You know, Sheffield, Castellanos may not have the defense. Same with Ted Williams. Kaline might not have the power or the speed, stuff like that, but still very good options. And then we got a couple guys in Tier 1C. I do have Tiers 2, 3, and 4 on the next slide, but I'm just going to leave it here for just a second. There are so many outfielders on this game. It's absolutely insane. I did my best. But if you really don't like any of the guys on the first slide, here's what you can look at. But really, honestly, if you want to compete, if you want to have the best team on this game, you should take someone from the first slide from the outfield. Alright, now that we're through the mess of outfield, let's move on. This slide got some updates. Literally any Christy Mathewson joining the fray there. Only the real ones know about this slide. And on to starting pitching. So, last tier list, I had Kershaw in the top 3. Kershaw is still in my top 3 personally, but I have heard a lot of people in the community that don't like him as much. So, I'm not going to go out and say he's definitively a top 3 option in the game anymore. So, I narrowed it down to a top 2. Kluber, Hershiser. The problem with pitching on this game is that it all depends on your sequencing, the level of competition you're playing, what you like to do stylistically. Pitching is the most subjective thing on this game for each individual player, so for me to rank pitchers is very, very hard. I do my best. I try to give a perspective on what I like, but at the end of the day, it's going to be very subjective. This is maybe the one position where you might find a guy in Tier 1C that works better for you than any of the guys ahead of him. So all I can really say is do your best to find what style of pitcher you like. Obviously, I like sinker cutter a lot. I'm sure a lot of people do. If you don't like that, if you are heavy into the sliders, maybe that changes your perspective. But give some different guys a shot. And don't bail on a guy if he has a bad start, especially if you play at 700 or lower. If you're playing on all-star difficulty, literally any pitcher on this game can get blown up any given time if you're playing a really good player. So give people a chance, and also watch my video on how a 6 ERA is not bad on this game. I'll get off my soapbox now, but I will definitively say Kluber, Hershiser are the best two in the game still. If you're looking to fill out your rotation, there's a big mess of guys there at the bottom of Tier 1A. We'll get to my team at the end, so you'll get some perspective on what I like to use. But a couple new guys at the bottom of Tier 1A there, 99 Scherzer and 95 Adam Wainwright, which may surprise you guys. But Wainwright, pretty much just Greg Maddux with slightly worse per nines and a slower cutter. I think he's a really, really good card. He was still in my rotation at the end of last year, his same 95 overall. So I think a lot of people are sleeping in that card. In Tier 1B, I think a lot of people are sleeping on Cliff Lee as well. Sinker cutter from the left side, very good control. I like that card a lot. There's a bit of a gap between Sale and Paxton, which is why there is a space there, in my opinion. We got Burt Blyleven down there. And at the bottom of Tier 1B, which may disappoint some of you guys that grinded for him, we have 99 Nate Pearson. I'll just be honest, if you're playing someone that can hit 102 consistently, you're going to have a tough time getting people out with 99 Nate Pearson. So that's why he's rated so low. He does have the factor of if you run into someone that just can't hit the heat, you're pretty much going to get an automatic win. You're probably going to strike out 18 in 6 innings, but that does not make him a good card in my opinion. I really try to evaluate these pitcher cards based on how they'll do against good competition. So Pearson pretty low for me there. And a couple of new guys in Tier 1C, Corbin Burns, Steven Strasburg. Burns has a really good repertoire, but only 90 stamina, which hurts a lot in the new meta after the starting pitcher energy changes. 90 stamina means you're in the yellow after like 75 pitches, and it's going to take him a long time to recover, like 4 games. So 75 pitches every 5th game is just not good enough for me stamina-wise. And maybe that's an area you look for to generate some advantages, just using some guys with high stamina. I'm just now realizing I forgot to put 97 Vita Blue on here, who really should be on there. 97 Vita Blue is in Tier 1B. It's at the top, right around where Cliff Lee is, actually. It's making me sad because I'm going to have to post a comment about him because a lot of people are going to watch this on mute or just skip through the slides. But anyway, I would put 97 Vita Blue at the top of Tier 1B. I think he's a sneaky good option. So watch for that pinned comment. Starting pitcher, Tier 2, 3, and 4. Here's some more options. Really, again, you should be looking at the guys on the first slide if you want the best team. So let's move on to right-handed relief closing pitcher, who got the biggest influx of cards that I've seen all year for this position. A lot has changed here as well. So best right-handed relief closing pitcher in the game, in my opinion, is 99 Goose Gossage. He's got the outlier fastball with the non-outlier sinker, so 7 miles an hour difference between those pitches, which is really strong. Also has a slurve and a changeup. Also 41 stamina, some of the best in the game. Just completely absurd card. And the new 99 Kenley Jansen should be up there as well. I think they are definitively the best 2 relievers in the game. As far as the other 2 you should be using, because you should be using 4 righty relievers, take your pick out of the 6 below. I'm still using Mariano and Dibble, which is why they're the top 2, but depending on your style, again, and who you really have success with and what pitches you like to throw, you can make an argument for Davis, Smith, Gagne, and Fingers all in the top 4. So, like I said, my bullpen's Gossage, Jansen, Rivera, Dibble, but Davis, Smith, Gagne, Fingers, all very, very good options as well. Joining Tier 2, we have 94 Greg Holland, 92 Joakim Soria, and 91 Tyler Clippard at the bottom, and then Karinchak, I think is how you say his name. Tier 3 looks good on paper, but you really have a hard time getting away with just fastball, curveball online, so just doesn't have the pitch repertoire. On the other hand, we have left-handed relief closing pitcher, which only got 1 new card albeit a very good one, we have the 96 Garrett Crochet Tops Now card. Jumping into Tier 1, jumping into Top 3, the best 3 lefties in the game, in my opinion, are 99 Billy Wagner, 97 Aroldis Chapman, and 96 Garrett Crochet. Crochet is knocking McGee out of my bullpen as it stands, but I left McGee in the top 4 because not a lot of people have 99 Billy Wagner. So if you don't have 99 Billy Wagner, I would run Chapman, Crochet, and McGee. At the bottom of Tier 1, we have Wagner, Franco, and Chapman. And then nothing's really changed for Tier 2 and Tier 3 there. Alright, let's move on to bench bats and another soapbox real quick. The bench bat slide is going to be postponed from here out. I didn't think it brought a lot of value to the video. It really just made people question why I left cards off more than it helped people with the cards that I had left on there. A lot of how I formulate my bench is what I would like to use late in the game. A lot of cards that I just think are good, a lot of cards that would be starters on other people's teams are bench bats for me. So there's a ton of guys that come to mind that are good bench bats. The Tops Now players all have high power, low contact. Those could be good bench bats. Player of the Month cards like Jesse Winker are good. It's hard for me to put a bench bat slide on here that covers everything. And like I said, it was really more irritating people that I didn't mention a card than it was helping people with the cards that I did mention. So we're just going to stop doing it for now. I hope you guys understand. As far as formulating your bench, I typically run 2 righties, 2 lefties, and 1 switch hitter. Whether or not you want to run defensive replacements and or pinch runners within those players is up to you. I personally am not doing any pinch runners right now because I just want to hit bombs when I bring a guy off the bench, but it's a lot of preference. You can get some value out of your bench depending on what your lineup's looking like, but when you have a God Squad, it's more just trying to have a guy that you really trust come off the bench in a big spot. So let's move on to the best team possible, which is the last slide for the video. Appreciate you guys watching this far. If you made it this far, comment down below why is everything green and yellow. I would love to see that. So let's get into what I believe to be the best team possible and how I would order the lineup. So green are the newcomers, the yellow below them are the guys that held that spot before. So let's jump into the lineup. I lead off Mike Trout. The reason I lead off Mike Trout is because I think it's really important to have both speed and power in your leadoff spot. Obviously, everyone knows you want speed at leadoff because he can set the table, steal a base, get in scoring position for the thumpers in the middle. But I also really enjoy having power at the leadoff spot for me personally because it protects my pinch hitters better. If they get into a good matchup with my pinch hitters, or if I get into a good matchup with my pinch hitters, they can't just pitch around me to get to my leadoff. If I have someone like Kenny Lofton at leadoff, it's a lot easier for them to pitch around, you know, Babe Ruth coming off the bench and just pitch to Lofton instead. So that's why I really like having Trout 1. I think one of your best players as far as speed and power combined should be 1. I think for a lot of people, Fernando Tatis Jr. could be a great option as a leadoff if you don't have Trout. So long story short, that's why Trout's leadoff. Then we have Honus Wagner playing second base. This was previously Rogers Hornsby. Then Lou Gehrig playing first. This was previously Babe Ruth. Jimmy Fox hitting cleanup because, of course, probably the best hitter in the entire game. This was previously Matt Wieters. Fifth, we have Tatis Jr. at shortstop, who was Ernie Banks. Then we have Mickey in the 6th hole in right field. Then we have Hornsby playing third base where Sheffield was. And then Ty Cobb in the 8th hole playing left field. So if you notice how I use Mickey and Tatis there, it's kind of to help turn the lineup over. With this best team possible, you only have 2 lefties and 1 switch, and one of the lefties is Ty Cobb, who's not really a thumper, even though he can be at times. So I really try to use Tatis and Mantle to kind of like muddy the waters with the handedness, and so I could go right left towards the bottom of the lineup. So that's why I did that. You can get creative if you have more righties than lefties. That's what I tried to do there. For the bench, I still have Thames on the bench. I really like Thames off the bench because he has technically reverse splits as a left-handed hitter. So if you bring him in against a righty, sometimes they'll just leave the righty in because they know he has worse contact versus right. So it makes things very awkward when you pinch hit with Eric Thames. I'm a really big fan of this card off the bench. And then my other lefty is Babe Ruth, who was previously Bryce Harper. For my righties, you have Sheffield and Pujols. Obviously, Pujols is not necessary. You could get away with someone like Castellanos there, who's not that much farther behind. Mark Canha, like I mentioned earlier, if you wanted to knock out defensive replacement speed for a pinch runner and a right-handed bat, you could run someone like Eric Davis or Luis Robert instead of Pujols here. Again, formulate your bench to what you want to make happen later in the game. And then for my switch hitter, I switched from Chipper Jones to Matt Wieters. The reason I want Wieters on the bench is for the ability to protect myself late in the game with Jimmy Fox at catcher. If it's like a one-run game and they get a guy with speed on first base, I want to have Wieters available as a defensive replacement with his 99 arm strength. You could run someone like Alfaro there as well, but I like Wieters because he also doubles as a switch hitter option off the bench. So Wieters is in there for Fox. If you don't really care about defensively replacing your catcher, you could run a better switch hitter there. For rotation bullpen, I run Kluber, Hershiser, Kershaw, Maddox, and currently Wainwright is in my top 5. This was Wood before. I still think Wood is very good, but stylistically, Wainwright just works very well for me. For the bullpen, I'm running Dibble, Rivera, Gossage, and Jansen. Like I mentioned earlier, Gossage is replacing Gagne, and Jansen is replacing Fingers. And then my lefties are Chapman, 99, Wagner, and McGee. Again, like I said earlier, if you don't have 99 Wagner, I would suggest Crochet there instead. So that's going to wrap it up for the video. I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you so much for all your support this year. I hope this was helpful for you guys. If you have any questions at all, drop them in the comment section below. Would love to read that. With that being said, thank you guys so much. Take care. I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.